describes as the handsome Congressman Matt Gaetz. He couldn't make it tonight, but plenty of his staff, my colleagues are here. Joel Valdez, John Wilson, my homegirl Isabella, she's somewhere out there. Thank you for coming. Now, it's fun to dunk on that ugly present governor of New Jersey, but I want to tell you about a former president of this club who was also a past governor of the great state of New York, but also tell you about, hopefully, a future governor of the great state of Texas. Thomas Dewey was a former president of this club, former governor of New York, former presidential candidate, a great icon of political history in the Empire State. There was no doubt about his wherewithal to fight. He took on organized criminals with vigor, earning him the nickname, the Gangbuster. And as a Republican, he exemplified the great history of the party to free the slaves. And less than 100 years later, he helped enact the first in the nation anti-discrimination laws in the workplace, recognizing the dignity of all working class people of all creed and color. You know, people forget that the Republican Party was founded on abolishing slavery. You hear these clowns on TV like Chris Cuomo, who got fired today from CNN. CNN sucks. You hear these clowns on TV, they say, the party's switched. There was a switch. They're on the other sides now. Nonsense. Lies, propaganda. The president who freed the slaves, Lincoln, gave a speech to this very club in 1856. And I'm here to tell you, over 100 years later, those Democrats, the Democratic Party, and by the larger extension, the political and global left, have never changed. What they were then is what they are now. Before Lincoln, they wanted to enslave black folk. Today, they want to enslave everybody. In fact, they are apoplectic that they had to work for over 100 years to get back to this point. Back for the first time. That they will institute diversity, equity, and inclusion into their utopian global slave state. Everybody gets to be a battery for the regime. For time immemorial, to the eons that come after us, they will always have the coldest perception of humanity, that humans are mere instruments, that their family, their nation, their God are of no consequence in their pursuit of that global slave state, that all problems can be solved with material solutions, that there is always a way to squeeze the people to continue their parasitic paradigm. In World War II, Americans got to see what utopia actually looked like, as we are honored to show you an exclusive trailer for the attendees of this gala of Uncle Tom 2. Take a look.
For me, it was real simple. As a young lieutenant back in 1985, I was on a deployment with my unit to West Berlin. went through Checkpoint Charlie. When I came out on the other side to East Berlin, I was like, oh, hell no. I don't want to live like that. In 1995, I'm stationed in South Korea, near the DMZ. And I look across and I see North Korea. I saw socialism. I saw Marxism. I saw communism up front and in person. When people have the scales taken off their eyes, then they can see clearly.
They will not stop until everything looks like this, and until the people have the scales taken off their eyes. Only then can they see clearly. They want to spread the wealth for everybody. That's their intent. What they end up doing is turning everything into a ghetto. I don't need to prove to you that that's true. In cities run by Democrats, you can see it for yourself. That is the future they want for you. The longhouse of the savages, an existence mired in the filth of the primordial man. A dystopia run by the godless, mocking the Lord's plague by making us feast on the locusts in response to the famine that they create. I am here tonight to stand with all of you and say, we will not live in the pods. We will not eat the bugs. We will not drink the soy. And to show them that we mean business, perhaps the Yanks need to get their groove back and lead the Union to defeat the globalist vocation of enslaving nations. And if you are ever in doubt on how to win, how to defeat this encroaching tyranny, through the everyday hustle of facing off against the high-tech struggle sessions of the online mobs that will inevitably lead to the high-tech lynchings, as Clarence Thomas so eloquently described it in his face-off against President Joe Biden. I leave with you a quote that General William Tecumseh Sherman wrote in a letter to James Guthrie, who would later go on to be senator. War is the remedy our enemies have chosen. Other simple remedies were within their choice. You know it, and they know it, but they wanted war. And I say, let us give them all they want. Not a word of argument, not a sign of let up, no cave in till we are whipped or they are. That's right. As Sherman marched to Savannah, he smashed everything to the sea to win. He had the railroads destroyed using a method named the Sherman necktie. I promise they were tied tighter than Steve Cortez's bow tie tonight. That's right. When Yankee Doodle goes to town, Yankee Doodle goes damn dandy. Stick a feather in that. Today we need a real gangbuster like Governor Dewey in the fight today. A man who had no problem calling out the Communist Party members among him during his time served as a congressman from Florida. He is quoted as saying during an infamous military court procedure, "If it's about the lives of my soldiers at stake, I'd go through hell with a gasoline can." We need men like this, ready to fight against the Democrats, against their campaigns to enslave us all again. And with that, I am proud to introduce the recipient of the Thomas Dewey Award, former Congressman, former Texas GOP chair, future Governor of Texas, my fellow co-star and Uncle Tom, the violently based Allen West.
thank you so much. And you know, I'm glad that I had you in my house for barbecue, because I think that's part of the reason why I got such a decent introduction. But to Gavin and to each and every one of you, first and foremost, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for having me. Now, I'm from down south. Maybe I need a translator for some of you Yankees up here. But I'll try to speak pretty plainly and clearly. One of the things that the military taught me, the Army taught me, is that a good leader always carries his smart cards, his 3x5 cards. And one of the quotes that I have in my 3x5 cards I want to share with you, because I think it talks about where we are in our country today. And that quote goes, "The uncontested absurdities of today are the accepted slogans of tomorrow. They come to be accepted by degrees, by dint of constant pressure on one side and constant retreat on the other, until one day when they are suddenly declared to be the country's official ideology." That quote is from the 1950s. The author of that quote is a woman by the name of Ayn Rand. I would have never thought that what I saw in 1985 as a young lieutenant would be here in this country. A country that my father served in World War II. A country that my older brother served as a Marine infantryman in Vietnam. A country that I served for 22 years in uniform. A country that my nephew right now is serving as a lieutenant colonel in the Army. A country that my father-in-law served, and he's buried at Arlington National Cemetery. I find it absolutely disgusting that today, after I had a morning run, that I went over to the Empire Grill, Empire Diner on 10th Avenue, and they told me that I could not go in and eat because I didn't have a shot card. How did we get to the point in the United States of America? How did we get to a point in New York City, the great city of New York, where people would say that you must show me your papers in order to come in and sit down and eat? My father and my mother grew up down south, and they had to live under that exact same type of tyranny. And they raised me up to be a young man that hopefully would never have to endure and see that tyranny. 60 years ago, I was born in a blacks-only hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. But I'm standing here with the New York Young Republican Club. A retired colonel in the Army, a former Republican member of the House of Representatives, served with Paul Gosar, a former chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, and now running to be a Republican governor of Texas. Who the hell are they to call us racists and white supremacists? That's a bunch of bullcrap. When you talk about absurdities, there are two ways that you enslave a person or a people. You work them for no pay, or you pay them for no work. And as far as I can see in the history of the United States of America, there's only one political party that has always done that and is still doing that today. And that's the party, not us, but the party of those imbecilic idiots that are standing out there and protesting us coming in here, because we're the party of liberty. We're the party of freedom. We're the party that believes in the Constitution. How absurd is it that we have a president that would stand up and say, no amendment to the Constitution is absolute? He said that, gentlemen. Or a president would stand up and say, this is not about your freedom. Everything in America is about the individual and their freedom and their liberty. Who would have ever thought that we'd have the absurdity of a federal government that would abdicate its duty and responsibility to protect our border, to the point where now airplanes are landing up here in New York with illegal immigrant minors? Who would have ever thought the absurdity of human and sex trafficking will be something that our own government is aiding and abetting? That's exactly what is happening right now. And so what I am here to tell each and every one of you As the rabbi said, the light of America is right here. And what we must do to you all as the young Republicans of not just New York, but every single state in this union, we've got to pass that torch of liberty and freedom to you so that you can continue to sustain and continue to carry on the longest running constitutional republic that the world has ever known. But we can only do that if we stand up with courage, if we stand up with confidence, if we stand up with commitment, with conviction, and with character. And the most important thing I'm here to tell all of y'all, it's about time that Republicans stop bringing a plastic spoon to a gunfight. We gotta start standing up. Got to start standing up. No person that has ever served in combat will tell you that you can win a battle on defense. Even if you have a successful defense, you got to counterattack. We have got to go on offense. You're seeing up here that if you stand for the right principles and values, that you can win in any district. You can win in any area. And I want to see the day when we have a constitutional conservative mayor of New York City. I want to see the day when we have a constitutional conservative that's the governor of New York. I want to see the day when our children understand what it means to live in the greatest nation that the world has ever known. Because we're teaching them history. We're teaching them civics. We're not indoctrinating them to be the next generation of young Marxists and socialists that are running around burning buildings and disparaging and denigrating and demeaning our country. That's not what men and women have died for on battlefields, where they see these young people tearing down their own country. I am sick and tired of turning on and seeing kids in Hong Kong singing our national anthem, carrying our flag, but yet our own young people are burning that flag. You all can make a difference in that. USA! Let me just close and say that it was Mark Twain who once said that there are two most important days in your life. He said, first is the day that you were born, and the second is the day that you find out why. That clip that you saw, I knew in January of 1985 the reason why. A young man was born in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, in a blacks-only hospital. They grew up in the neighborhood that produced Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. America is not about the color of our skin. It really is about the content of our character. And the content of our character, must be one that defends this incredible land that we have. We are not a constitutional monarchy that is supposed to be ruled by edicts, orders, mandates, and decrees. We're a constitutional republic, and we're supposed to be governed by the rule of law. And in January 1985, I saw what the other side believed in. And I'm committed that there is no way in hell that that will ever happen in my United States of America. Yeah. So God bless you all. And you need to be committed from this day forward that you will never allow what we saw in that clip to happen here in our United States of America. God bless you all.